Okay, and we've got people, yep, ready.
Awesome. Okay, good morning. My name is Sharon Dean, and I work for the K-20 Center. We have partnered with the State School Board Association to deliver a strategic planning process with your school district. And this is our 5th year of doing this with school districts across the state of Oklahoma. We're pretty proud of the process. This began, like I said, 5 years ago with superintendents wanting some help in strategic planning in their school districts. And people were bringing in people from Georgia and Texas and who really don't know a lot about Oklahoma's educational process. And so they asked us to develop this. It is research-based. Literally, I refer it to the birth of the baby. I did a lot of research and traveled to other states to see what they were doing and developed and vetted the process. We have worked with 21 school districts in the state of Oklahoma, and I can tell you, I feel very confident that all but one of the school districts actually implemented or in the process of implementing the strategic plan. So I think it's pretty successful. The one school district that did not change superintendents, so therefore there probably wasn't a lot of buy-in from that superintendent, and half of their administrators changed. So it will work. And we are very well aware that you are a large school district, and we are making some modifications to make sure beyond this piece of the process, we involve more people. And eventually, a committee of about 30 to 36 people representing students, parents, teachers, administrators, and community members will be the strategic planning committee. But we intend to reach out to principals, who we expect principals to reach out to teachers to give us input in between those big meetings. So it gives you a little bit of background. The very first part, we are totally committed that this is not a superintendent's plan. This is not a school board member's plan. This is the community's plan. And so the very first phase is what we're in now, and it is to gather community input. There are two ways. There was a survey open to you guys for over a month that you could go and take a survey, an online survey, and then these face-to-face meetings. We were here for 2 days, probably the end of October, first part of November, or this first part of end of October, no, first part of October, end of September. And we did several forums, and I think they outdid themselves today because there's 3 of us down here and we're hopping from school or place to place today until 6 o'clock tonight doing this forum, because it is important to get your input. We will analyze all this data, and we will come up with a product that says, this is what Lawton School District, their community, expects of their learners in the future. This is what the community's core beliefs are, and this is what the community's core values are. That will be the basis for moving forward with this 5-year strategic plan. So right now, we're gathering data. Appreciate you guys being here. And this is that face-to-face forum in which we want your input. We're going to do this through Mentimeter. So if you will get your device out and go to menti.com. Some of you are getting ahead again, which is okay. Go to menti.com, and the code, just a second to get to that site. The code is 44650353. Menti.com, and it asks, the code input is 44650353.
Let me make sure everybody online.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, someone here is going to type into the chat. Yeah.
Menti.com, 44650353. Did you guys in person get? Okay.
There it goes.
Okay, all right, it's slow, it's slow.
Just put it in the
Kind of let me set the stage, so
See
y'all
the
get
chat.
ahead of me with the questions, because I want to kind of preface some of the things we're talking about. Basically, like I said, we're extremely committed. This is not Mr. Hines' plan, it's not the school board's plan, it's the community. The plan will be data-driven and community-driven with the data from the community forums and surveys. So this morning, we're going to ask you 6 questions. And I kind of want to give you the big picture of that. The very first question is we want you to be forward-thinking and think about in 10 years, what are your expectations for graduates in the year 2031? So when they graduate from Lawton Public Schools, what are your expectations? What's going to make them successful? And with the Menti, you will be able to type a response. I'm going to ask if you would please, if you have several ideas, for each idea, if you will use a different text box, that helps us when we start analyzing the data. So there's not 5 ideas in one box. So for example, if your first expectation is they are college and career ready, submit. Maybe your next expectation is they can manage money, submit. So that's one request I'd ask, and you can put as many responses in as you want. If you notice on the screen, as you enter responses, they will come up on the screen. I suggest that you kind of, as you're doing your responses, you also will look at what other people are saying, because sometimes someone may say something, go, oh yeah, that's awesome. So just because someone has put it up here, you go ahead and put it up there too, if you think that's important, because we're really looking at frequency of responses. So what is the most important? So with no further ado, and those kind of guidelines, if you guys want to start working on the very first question, how will you respond to what are your expectations of graduates in the year 2031? Have technical skills to compete in a global society, have those soft skills, ability to problem solve. Awesome answers, Guy. Ready for life beyond high school, held accountable for their work, reading on grade level, mathematically reasoning, technical skills, be productive citizens, soft skills again. Great comments. You guys are on target. So what do you expect when after they walk across that stage in 2031? And again, if you see something after that goes, oh my gosh, yes, you add it. You go ahead and repeat it. Be a part of the workforce, be involved in their community. Those interpersonal skills, explore those career paths. Citizenship skills, they can count change. Almost nobody can count change.
Well, there's a change shortage, so not always important.
They don't count it sometimes.
I just-
Communication and people skills. Being able to manage their money. Be those problem solvers. Have knowledge or at least exposure to different trades. Productive members of society. Just managing the daily ups and downs of life. Being able to talk to people. That they're self-sufficient and be successful in their home life as well as their work life.
Oh, it goes to sleep.
Yes, it does. Be involved in the community. Okay, so as you're finishing up your thoughts, I'm going to kind of give you the big picture here. So this is what we expect of our graduates in the future, our forward thinking, 10 years. This is what's going to make them successful. So we're going to dig a little deeper. So thinking about what you have contributed to this question, let's think about how can they be productive citizens? How can they learn to count change? What are the skills they need to be successful? How do they become problem solvers? How do they become productive citizens? So what specific skills are they going to need to be successful? What are those skills they need to be successful? Self-care, that's a new one. Budgeting. So we've defined the success when they graduate. These are the skills they need to meet those expectations. Communication skills, emotion management, flexible in their thinking, being able to work with others, collaborating with others, being adaptable. Time management skills. My son's 40 and he still lacks that. So what skills do they need? But you guys are right on target. When you look at what research says, there's like a top 10 list of skills, and like fourth from the bottom are the skills for that job knowledge, that specific job knowledge. All of those others are just what you're talking about here. They're just exactly what you're talking about here. It's not how I do this job, but it's, you know, communicating, working with others, those social skills, management. Because probably in 2031, they'll be approaching jobs that are not even here right now, right? That's what research is saying on that. Okay, here's what they need, these skills. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper. So think about this. If you're saying they need communication skills, they need to be able to adapt, they need to be able to problem solve, they need to be able to collaborate, they need to manage their time, basic life skills, manage their emotions. The next question is, what are your classrooms? What does teaching and learning need to look like for them to acquire those skills? What's happening, what needs to happen in the classroom for them to know how to communicate, for them to know how to manage their time, for them to know how to problem solve? And think about pre-K through 12. If you have those kiddos pre-K through 12, what do those classrooms need to look like that they're not just have the math and the reading and the science and social studies? You all put a lot more out there. How do we develop those skills? How do we develop problem solving? How do we develop the critical thinking? How do we develop time management? What does that classroom need to look like? Inquiry-based learning, student input, more attention from their teachers, project-based learning, class sizes, use of the technology daily, the teacher as the facilitator of knowledge, how to send a polite email. A lot of those things you're talking about, those life skills, got to move beyond the worksheet. And it needs to be a safe environment so that they feel like that they can explore and they can take risks. Needs to be relevant. That teaching and learning needs to be relevant to those students. I bet you guys see a lot of that here, right? That need for your kiddos. That relevancy is extremely important. It's important for all of them. Face-to-face meetings. Provide avenues for students to communicate. Have your lessons have some of that real life application. How to greet people. Any of you guys gone through Great Expectations training? That's a biggie when someone comes to the classroom. I had a teacher, we had not done it in my school as a middle school, but she had come to us from an elementary school and she was really big into that, and I loved to go down to her classroom. And it's like, made my day. But they were being taught that, That student input and that teacher as a facilitator is big. Mock job interviews. Absolutely. That's that real world. That's that real world application that you guys had mentioned. So mentoring. Whoever put mentoring, you don't have to tell me right now. Are you talking about peer-to-peer mentoring? Are you talking about adult to student mentoring? Clarify that a little bit, kind of what you mean, or any or all kinds.
Did anyone online put mentoring? Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
If I had a mentor group with the students once a month, every couple of weeks, had to come in, or that I met with them one-on-one to go over things, whether it's.
So it's adult to student
It's almost
mentoring.
like it was a force that you have to be face-to-face and you work with some of those skills at the same time. And that would be.
Well, even like that. Exactly. So even if, we had an advisory program in our middle school and they weren't virtual. They were there every day. But that advisory 20 minutes was totally for what you're talking about.
I guess I could like mentoring / advising.
Yeah, go ahead. No. But I'll know it's not peer mentoring. It's not student to student. It's more the adult to student. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Here's the big expectation of the graduates of 2031. Here are the skills they need to be successful. We've delved into now, what does teaching and learning need to look like for them to acquire those skills? So our next question is, what resources and supports are going to be necessary for you to make those classrooms to where those skills, those particular skills can be taught? So what resources and supports are going to help the classroom teacher and the students acquire those skills? Do what we need to do in the classroom. So train teachers, middle school and high school teaming time. I'm assuming that is not happening, right? Qualified educators. I was at the district office and they were sharing getting teachers is a problem and it's everywhere. Smaller class sizes, home economics classes, job prep class. I'm a former family and consumer science teacher. So tell you on that one. A computer teacher at the elementary schools. More teachers. Open conversations. Retaining your qualified teachers. This is my question of the day. What do you think it costs to replace a teacher when a teacher leaves? Average cost. Take a risk. Oh gosh, no. They told me 60,000 for the last one. It's much better than that. It costs $9,000. So every time a teacher walks out and you have to go through hiring a new one, it's an average cost of $9,000. It's probably going to be more because you're a larger school district. But first time I read that, I thought, no. And then we had about 25% of our staff leave last spring. So I've been in every exit interview, which was an hour. And for every person that left, I've been in on interviews for the position, which is at least 5 people coming in. And I start thinking about multiply those hours times my salary, and then what HR does. Yeah, it's realistic. So we want to keep those teachers. Direct instruction for special education students. Are they in co-teaching classes for special ed? Getting our community involved, community members visiting our classrooms. Reopen closed schools to fix the crowding. LPCs to address mental illness. The ability to speak up without fear, and I'm assuming that's teachers' ability, not students or both. Teacher input for education applications. Parental involvement. We know that what research says about parents and being involved, what that does to improve academic success for your kiddos. Cross-training in positions where teachers can see the difference in different work days. That's an awesome idea. What I'm seeing here, you may want to think about one of my questions in the future to repeat, because I see some new ideas. Okay. So as you're finishing up on that, we have 2 questions left. And I want to make sure you understand, coming in here and working with your district to do a strategic plan, the goal is not to clear everything off the table and start anew. You know, I don't want you leaving with the idea that, oh, here's one more new thing I can outlast it. No, that's all it is. It truly is looking at what you're currently doing and really evaluating that and what's working, what's really working. And then what are some things that, and that this will be one of our sessions that we do with your committee. What are some things that you're doing that you know it's really good for kids, but it may not be happening to fidelity, or it may not be as focused as we want it to be focused. So part of your strategic plan can definitely incorporate things that are already happening. We just need to tweak it, make better. And then the options there if there are new things. So just your way of working is your plan, not brand new. So the next question. What is working well in your district? I lost my internet. Hold on.
We lost the internet.
I apologize.
Everyone hold on.
Did you guys want
Don't worry. Stay calm.
It's just her.
Where's David? Oh, we are connected again. We'll be back on in a moment. Welcome to virtual. Somebody did leave.
13.
Yeah, 14. Somebody left us.
Well, okay, 2 of them are us. It's like 11.
Okay, I apologize.
We're back.
We're back. So what are you doing in your district that's making a difference for your kids? And it's like, we don't want to change this. We may want to make it better, but we don't want to change it. Are there programs? Are there certain, even traditions that's going on? So grant writing, having a career focus, having a flexible and open mindset, our technology, option of virtual or traditional, LBA, technology, positive culture, gathering input from our stakeholders, offering alternative learning platforms for students, one-to-one devices for students, which I was told this morning they do one-to-one, which is awesome. So what do we want to keep? Again, not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. What are things that you feel is working? And again, we may need to tweak it, we may need to focus on it, but it's something we don't want to get rid of. And as you're kind of finishing up on that, I'm going to set you up for the last question. I was with your CFO, and he looked at me when I said the next thing. I said, money is no object. All right, so think big, think outside the box. Don't be constrained by, oh, that would never happen, oh, that costs too much money, whatever. So the next thing I want you to think about and contribute is, what should we start doing? So you have friends that maybe work in other districts, or you watch television, you see some really cool things that are happening in other school districts, or you're just a great thinker and kind of entrepreneur attitude. What are some things that maybe you think our district should start doing that would be really good for your kids? Listening to teachers, the ones in the trenches, get input from teachers before implementing large changes. Better communication, block scheduling for middle and high school, top-notch technology, communicate with stakeholders, unilateral decisions that affect others are not good for the whole, direct instruction. Now think about some of those things that you all put on before that you were not doing. Middle school concept. Avid. I thought you guys had that. You don't have that in your district? Avid. See, communication several times. I think it's great, you guys. I just learned a little bit about your facility. When we were here before, I kept driving by, going, what is that? What is that? That was science center. And so I said, I'll go there today. Maybe my curiosity was piqued. And I think it's great. You guys meet the needs of kids that traditionally probably are not met. So what should we start doing? A technology person assigned to every building. That gets pretty important when you have one-to-one, doesn't it? I remember the stress I had as a principal, and there was not even close to one. And I can't imagine with a whole building of computers and the students not having that support. Although I think your guys do a great job. Focus on the retention of teachers and providing a more competitive salary. Collaboration for grade level teams. I really think communication is the theme.
Yeah.
For a lot of your answers. Okay, as you guys are finishing up, and please feel free to finish up. I know some of you have exhausted, and that's fine. I'm going to let you know kind of a little bit more. You are a huge district, and I talked about that committee of 30, 35, 36 people that represent those stakeholder groups. And so not every site is going to have a principal, a teacher, a student, etc. in that working group. However, we are building in time in between when we come back and work with that committee to meet with your principals, which we're encouraging them to come back to be the ambassadors to you, the teachers, give you opportunities for them to share information with you. And then again, probably by the first part of January, we will have all the data analyzed, and we will have a document that says Lawton's core beliefs, Lawton's core values, and Lawton's learner expectations. Taking all of the information like we gathered from face-to-face forums here, and all the information that's on the online survey, which you have almost 2,000 people complete the online survey, which is really good, really, really good. We'll be working really, really hard to do that. And when you see that document, it will be prioritized. So the first bullet of about 10, 12, 15 learner expectations, core beliefs, and core values is a prioritized list. Whatever's that first bullet, that was what was most important to your community. And then we will take that, use that as our guidance for where do we go, what are our goals, what are our objectives as we move forward in the strategic plan. So, yes. Well, we're still having that conversation. The last, so don't hold me to this. The last brainstorming was we needed kind of equal representation, administrators of those stakeholder groups. And so we've talked about it. We've not gotten it okay at the district level to when we come back and meet with principals to kind of have a graphic design for principals to help choose. So your principal might be assigned to choose the parent from their school. You know, the principal at Lawton High might be assigned to choose an administrator from their school. We're still working on that. But I do know that based upon a previous conversation with Mr. Hine, he did not feel like he should make all those decisions by himself. So we kind of thrown around the idea of doing something like that. We're coming back in the first part of January to meet with the administrators, that would be an activity that we do. And I've not thought of the logistics yet to see how it's going to happen. And I talked to Mr. Hine this morning and said, normally we have 25, 5 of each of those stakeholder groups. With a district your size, I'm okay, and I think we can easily facilitate 30 to 35 to get more representation. You get more than 35 in a committee, then it's kind of, 1 or 2 people trying to take over the whole thing. So that's one of our challenges we're working on. Do you have any suggestions? Darn. You ask a question, you should have an option, Does that sound feasible to you guys? Kind of what I explained, so that, not every site is going to have a parent, a teacher and da, 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 da. And then we need to think about elementary and secondary, you know, so we just haven't, there are two other ladies that work with me. One of them is from the K-20 Center where I work, and then the lady that's with State School Board Association. So the three of us are kind of the main people, and we're all over in different places today. I think we're going to meet up here just a little bit. That's something we're going to try to iron out and propose that. But I do know Mr. Heim wasn't real comfortable saying, I'm going to choose all these people. He wanted, but yeah, welcome any ideas. But we do know, we learned from our experience with working with the school district size of Middale that that committee has to be very strategic, more strategic than what it was at Middale, and having an opportunity, and we've asked for a minimum of a half a day with principals. So when we finish this, before we come back, we want a minimum of a half a day with all the principals. And we'll be asking, they'll be kind of doing bits and pieces of the activities and contributing what the whole committee will be doing. So, but yes, any comments, any suggestions? That's several.
Anyone online have any comments, suggestions, questions? We're about to wrap it up here, so I don't want you to miss out on getting to ask something.
The results of when we analyze the data.
I don't know, try it and see.
Maybe it's just the answer.
I don't know. No one's ever done that. Well, go check your email.
Yeah.
Check your email, ladies.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know that we download it into a spreadsheet. But no one's ever done that. That's new to me.
Yes, when you do that, it brings the results to you.
Does it bring it to you?
It sure does.
I learned something new today.
Okay, if no one on here has a question, are you?
I'm through it.
Okay.
No one else. Thank you guys
Da,
for
da,
coming
da.
online, and thank you guys for making it in person. And
Oh, wait, hold on. We have a question. I lied. Okay. Will this plan include something for our EL students? Since our EL, sorry, this is a little hard to read. EL population continues to grow each year.
Okay. Your question was about EL students and that population growing. This is data driven, and we will look at the data. We will look at, first of all, we will look at student achievement data, and we will look at subgroups, and that committee and group of principals will be able to suggest data points that could be potential issues. So we're going to look at that. We'll look at that disaggregated data. The other piece of data that we would probably look at to address that would be enrollment data. When we talk about the growth, do we see trends in any of your ethnic groups? And then, so we get all those data points together, and then that committee will look at all those. And this is probably the hardest part, is narrowing your focus and prioritizing, because in a 5-year plan, the goal is that you guys will have a plan that has maximum 4 big goal areas. And then under each goal area, there may be 2 to 4 objectives. And then under each of those objectives, there may be 2 to 4 initiatives. Otherwise, it gets into this huge thing that there's no way that you can implement it. So Can I tell you that we will? No, but I can tell you we will look at that data, and that committee will make decisions as to what data points they feel when they start prioritizing, analyzing what's important. But the other thing is when we come back for the fourth phase after your plan has been actually written and made in a pretty little book and approved by your Board of Education, the fourth phase of the process is called phase 4, and it's called Achieve. And this was something we never saw in any of our research, was this phase. But what we did see was school districts who developed strategic plans, 30% of them were implemented. Ours is a much higher rate. We attribute this to our phase 4. So we'll come back and we'll work with each of your school sites. And so if that's a really big issue at your school site, you can add an initiative and customize a year 1 plan. So you're going to do a year 1 plan for your site to support the district plan. But if there's some unique needs for your site, you can add some things to that too. So the only things that the plan doesn't change is your goal areas and your objectives, because those are totally data and community driven. Does that answer your question?
Is that answer your question, Tanya? Do you have any more you'd like, Claire? Yes, it does.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank
Good.
you for asking. Any other questions?
This isn't a question, it's a statement. You're not missing anything. I was just talking to the people online. Okay. Any other questions? Anybody online?
No, we'll take it.
I'm going to go ahead and end this session. There's nothing else happening here. You good for me to end this?
That's all.
Okay.
I appreciate you guys letting me come and spend some time with you this morning. I applaud you in what you do. Have a great Thursday and tomorrow.